Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
Taylor Swift is a link builder. There were rumors that she would get engaged. Our client said, let's give them a free wedding venue. And then we got them 50 links. That's digital PR.
Managing multiple clients or large websites? Automate your SEO with Ali AI. Start your free trial now.
And originally, we thought we would loosen things up and start with something funny about Switzerland. Oh no, there's a big countdown now.
The camera's starting.
Oh, so we thought we would start with something funny about Switzerland, but apparently there is nothing funny about Switzerland. So that's life, right? Everything is serious.
Yeah, really serious. I found out that Swiss people eat 70 kilograms of cheese each year per head, and just 11 kilograms of chocolate. I was really surprised by that.
What? Less chocolate than cheese? That's like
I thought
crazy.
it would be the other way around, but they have the cheese fondue and the raclette, and that's a lot of cheese.
Okay, so Swiss people like cheese. I don't know what that should tell you. It's like, I kind of like cheese. Yeah, so one thing, maybe first off, I know last year was a bit exciting when I did this presentation and then an hour afterwards there was a core update. I don't think there's going to be a core update an hour after this. It's like, just for sake of clarity. There will be some beers and you can have a good time and go into the weekend and like, don't worry about a core update. Who knows about the future, but at least for today, I think you should be safe. Cool, we forgot to bring our clicker.
Yeah, I just wanted to say we don't have a clicker.
Oh my gosh, okay. Oh, there we go.
Solved the problem.
Cool, okay, amazing. Wow, this is a good start. So, first off, we have Dani joining us here.
Yeah, I'm Dani Leitner. I'm a Swiss SEO consultant, just left agency life 2 months ago and went solopreneur. And I'm specialized in the German market, so if anyone needs to optimize their website for Germany, Austria, or Swiss, I'm your girl.
Cool.
Do you need actually an introduction?
Yes, I have an introduction slide. It's like, my name is John. I've been at Google for a really long time now. I work as a search advocate, which is, I don't know, a weird name. Sometimes we make up these names and titles. But essentially, my team works together with the search engineering and the search quality, the search ranking teams to better understand what is happening in search so that we can document it for all of you. We create all of the search documentation, all of the search console documentation, a ton of videos. We go to events sometimes, like here, and we do a lot of, I think, interesting, helpful stuff. And our goal is really, with all of this, to make it easier for people like you who are optimizing sites or people who are making websites in general to succeed in search. So that you kind of understand what Google is thinking and what the technical elements are that you could be focusing on. So first off, I think it's also important to say here that this is a collaboration between me and Dani. And some of it is official Google information, and some of it is information from Dani, and I tried not to influence her too much.
No, you actually didn't give a lot of feedback. It was really hard working with him.
Oh my God. I'm sorry, but it's also, I think, a bit on purpose, because I think it's really important for you all to also get more of a neutral input on some of these things where maybe Google wouldn't go out and put something on a slide, but Dani would. And sometimes that's also important to have. So that's kind of why I thought it would be a good idea to do something together. And the other thing is I have some forward-looking parts and some kind of opinion parts in my slides. These are not pre-announcements. I'm not saying that this is going to happen next week or this is going to happen in the future, especially if we kind of peek into the future. It's like, who knows what could happen? Like sometimes weird surprises come along.
Like core updates an hour after the presentation.
Core updates. No, I really don't. I mean, I'm not involved with everything, but it would really, really surprise me if there were a big ranking change today. Okay, we kind of have this schedule, not a Q&A, lined up. On the one hand, looking back at 2024, which Dani will cover mostly, looking at the future a bit, and some thoughts about search, SEO, you know, all of these things, which kind of include AI as well. So some pieces about AI are in here, and I know AI is sometimes a bit polarizing. So hopefully it's a little bit less polarizing afterwards, but we'll see. I don't know. So I have a lot of slides with this really big text to try to focus on things. I think one of the things that I've noticed, especially in the past 2 years, is that so many people are talking about search. And it's like Google's going to replace search with AI, or like AI is going to replace Google, or Google is going to disappear, or everything about SEO and search is going to change completely. But the big, I think, overwhelming idea is that people are still looking for information, and they're very curious about how it will look in the future. And to me, that's almost a good sign, because it means that people care about search. They care about finding information, about learning about individual topics. So I kind of take that as a good idea. I don't know, after 2 or 3 days here at Brighton, how many of you still care about search, or are you like, well, it's like clearly SEO is dead now? Raise your hand if you care about search. Okay, we have a handful. It's like you have to watch out. It's like the light hides people. Okay, fantastic. I think it's also worth keeping in mind that while it's like, I don't think like search is going away, everything is still changing, and it is changing partially because of AI and partially with AI, and also the user expectations are changing. People have expectations of what they consider to be a useful site, how they can actually find information online, and I think that's important to keep in mind. It's not that Google is always just randomly changing things, but the whole ecosystem, everyone together, keeps moving forwards, and I think, in general, that's a good idea. One of the things that has changed significantly over the past maybe 5 years, so looking back a little bit more, is how easy it is to create a website that just works well for search engines. So nowadays you can spin up a WordPress site, you can set up a Wix site in, I don't know, a couple of minutes, and basically you have a website from a technical point of view that more or less works with search automatically. You can install plugins, you can do SEO tweaks, all of those things. But basically, the technical foundation is already there. And I think that's a pretty big change, because that means that a lot more people can go into this space and just create content. And from a practical point of view, when I go around, look at the booth downstairs, or I guess it's downstairs, you see a lot of tools being provided that make it even easier. It's like, here's how you can figure out which topics you should write about. And here's a bunch of questions that people ask that you could put as headings on your pages. And here's a bunch of AI tools that you can use to generate content for these things. And that's something that kind of makes it easier to just pump out content. So, with that in mind, I have a few slides that might be a little bit uncomfortable, but we'll get through them together. Partially, these are things that I found on social media, which are comments by non-SEOs, which I think is really critical to kind of keep in mind that, especially when we're talking about search, on the one hand, you as SEOs, or people who are kind of working more intensely with search, have obviously really strong opinions about what is a good search result and what is useful content. But it's almost like the more important people are the random people on the web who are just curious about the web, curious about finding information. And the quotes I pulled are from people who are not SEOs, which probably you will recognize when I put them up. It's like, I don't know, I see some laughing, but you know, it's a lot of things that I think as SEOs is easy to kind of fall back on tools and just generate content, make things. And it's something where it's very easy to put out content that is reasonable, that even looks good, but actually it doesn't provide a lot of value to the web. And that's something that users notice too. They're not dumb, that when they look at this content, they're like, I don't know, how good is this actually? Do they appreciate it? And expanding topics, like adding authority to your website, getting the right headings in, becoming a topical expert, and
hey, no,
updating.
That's amazing. I made a
good?
presentation yesterday, so topical authority is a thing.
Okay, yeah, okay, so like and updating things for 2024, just to make sure that you have everything covered. I hope you didn't have anything about changing dates.
Oh, I have,
okay.
But not that it's a good thing.
Okay. Does that actually make the web better, or does it make it worse? I don't know. Here are some more quotes. It's like, you know, these are the kind of things where sometimes when you interact with people and you talk about SEO, they recognize what is happening. They go to recipe sites and they're like, why is all of this stuff here? And it's like, probably just for SEO. And oftentimes they consider SEO is basically just adding words to a page so that you have all of the words on a page. Does every website that sells tires need to have the history of tires? Or does it need to cover every city in the world where you can drive with your car that has tires? It's like, I don't know. At some point, you have to be reasonable, right? And it's something where, from my point of view, I think what really matters is adding value to the web overall, not just rephrasing things that are already out there. And I have more quotes. It's like, I don't know. This one's like claiming it's SEO slop. It's like, that's seems pretty extreme. And obviously some of these are issues that we, on Google's side, also have to consider. And we do look at user feedback. We look at things that we find on social media. We do user studies. We do a lot of testing with our algorithms as well. And all of this kind of comes in when it comes to like future-looking updates that we make. So my point here is not just to upset everyone. I mean, not just. It's like, I also want to go home in one piece. But rather to kind of get people to also consider like what is it that they're actually providing online? And to think about like how can you actually add value rather than just using all of these tools that are available, which are fantastic, to fill out your website with content because everyone else has this content, therefore I should also have a version of this content. Now I don't think that adds a lot of value to the web, and I think from a search engine point of view, if everyone else has similar versions of the same content, even if it's a good quality version of that content, like what difference does it make which one Google shows? It puts you in a very risky situation, I think. One more. I promise this is the last one. But it's really something where I think if you're going out and just creating SEO content, that's, to me, something where you're kind of creating a liability. Even if it's high quality SEO content, you're basically like just repackaging things, reframing things in a different way. And I know someone who can also rephrase things and write them up in a different way. And his name is Al, or AI if you don't capitalize the last letter. And my worry is a bit that you're out creating a lot of this content that is basically just repackaging existing content where it's like suddenly it doesn't really matter to the user what they see. And if instead you could create more content that's actually unique and valuable as something that provides value to the web overall rather than just repurposing existing content, that seems a little bit more reasonable or a little bit more valuable for the long run. And how Google will take that into account, I don't know. I think the amount of this content that's being created is kind of a risk, because it also causes issues in search, and I imagine at some point we have to figure out how to deal with all of this content. So the earlier you kind of step away from just creating content for SEO purposes, the more likely I think you'd have a kind of long-term, more stable relationship with the web. And I get it's tricky because sometimes it just works. It's like, what can you do? If your clients want results and they're like, well, I can write this article for you that is similar to the existing content and maybe I can have it rank one version higher than others, like that's always a tricky proposition where you think, well, it's like the same thing as others, like what value does it add to the web? And they're like, well, I just want my ranking. That's challenging, and I think that's something that Google also has to work on. Okay. I hope I didn't upset too many people with some of these quotes. So I'll hand it over to Dani for a little bit of a look back at last year.
Really nice. We actually said we will make this presentation really light because it's the last one and this was really heavy now.
Sorry.
I will make it a little bit lighter. I will look back on 2024, which is really strange to look back on a year we're still in. So you didn't miss anything. Christmas is not tomorrow and New Year's Eve not in a week. We are still in 2024 and we still have 3 months left. But we already passed 9 months and a lot can happen in 9 months. Some people go from having a life to having a baby. So we can do a lot in the SEO world as well. First of all, I looked at the updates.
Okay.
That's what we went through this year already. 2 core updates, 2 spam updates. And I was looking at this and I thought, like, that's not much. Wasn't it more last year? Because last year it felt like you were going from one update to another one, and we didn't even have time to brief. And I was just like, yeah, let's look at 2023. And it was more, a lot more. And I was just like, what happened to Google? Are they getting lazy? Are you not working on the search anymore? Just AI overviews?
More updates.
No, better not. But I found something else. There were 4 updates in the 3 months left. So either you got lazy, or there's a lot waiting for us in the next 3 months. But what you did in this 9 months was working on different stuffs, not just core updates, which is really nice because they were working on our tools, like the Google Search Console. The crawl rate limiter went away. And Gary explained it that it's not useful anymore because Google is not crawling the web anymore that often or something like that. Oh no, wait, that was Reddit that actually said it. But maybe there's some truth about it and that's why it went away.
I mean, we have to crawl good content, right? Yeah. So.
But something went away and something came. Or didn't came, it changed, it got better. Like the robots.txt, I don't know if you had a look at it. If everything is fine, you don't need to have a look at it. But if there's something wrong, Google actually tells it to you now. Like, I had one case like, we ignore this line. I was just like, thank you, Google. Good to know. Another update were the recommendations. And before you start looking at your Google Search Console and looking at every project you have in there, because that's what I did. I didn't have one project with a recommendation, and I was just like, what's going on? Isn't it coming to the European Union? Like some other things are not coming to the European Union? But no, they just rolled it out in August, and I think not every page has it yet. And if Google doesn't have to say anything, it won't say anything.
Yeah, maybe your sites are perfect, Dani. I don't know. Like,
let's stay with
no
that,
recommendations from Google. right?
That's actually a good point. Maybe it's that, not the European Union again. On this slide, I don't know if you could read it, but actually this slide is from Google itself, and there was one recommendation that just 35% of this website there, of the example.com, is really in the Google Search Console. That's why we got the bulk export to actually export it to BigQuery, and I think we had presentations yesterday about it. There was something, or was it today? I'm not sure, I'm confusing things now. So a lot was going on in the Google Search Console. But while not working on a lot of updates, you also were rewriting a lot of stuff. Do you remember this podcast?
Yes.
It was in January?
It was, I thought it was good. So we did this, or I did this together with our tech writer who works on all of the search documentation. Like everything is under her control. It's amazing. And I think together with Gary, and we talked about the SEO starter guide, and we cut back a ton of words from the SEO starter guide. And I think we cut it to almost like half of the SEO starter guide. And my worry was like we would lose all our rankings if we don't have enough words. This might sound familiar, right?
You should really listen to it because it's, I think, an hour or something. I don't know how long the podcast just talking about, will we lose traffic? We're really afraid of losing traffic because we're cutting down words. I really like the podcast. And I actually looked up on some tools how the starter guide evolved since then. And it's actually rising with traffic. So we can stop putting text on recipe sites. So we get to the recipe immediately. Maybe.
I think people who make recipe sites have very strong opinions about this. We have to be careful.
Also, there was some things going on the YouTube channel. Like a year ago, SEO Made Easy started with Martin, which is really nice. There were a few episodes this year. I think we can really get the video and send it to our clients, because Martin won't steal our clients, our competition might. So we might just send these videos to them. And something really interesting, the SEO office hour came back because there was a break.
Yeah.
You kind of like, I don't know, there was one in September, December, April, there are a few months in between that you just left.
It's challenging to keep up with all of the things, and sometimes things get stuck.
But the good thing is we didn't wait on you to come back for the SEO office hour, because we actually have our own now.
You fixed it.
Signals.
You fixed Google. No.
No, we fixed we missed SEO office hour. And I was thinking about, do you think there's space for 2 SEO office hours?
I think there's space for a lot of SEO office hours, and I don't know if you noticed, but lots of people have questions about SEO, and it's like, you all are experts. And I think there is room for definitely more people to talk about SEO and especially answer people's questions, because there's just so much confusion out there, and sometimes writing up a blog post is one thing, but answering questions one-to-one and understanding the context of the question, that's really important.
That was a really good answer, because if not, I would have said you can stop yours. We also got some really nice search features in 2024. And I don't know if you know all of them, because actually 2 are really secret information that John gave me, but I will share it with you because we are all a community. First of all, we now can add -Reddit to all of our searches so they are more useful. That's something nice, no? If you don't like to type, you can also just install the plugin that's actually made in Brighton, so that's why I had to mention it today. And now the really secret ones, the one John gave me, that I'm really, really grateful to have now.
Why?
First of all, how do we find non-AI generated content, which is really important, so we know which is real human written content. We just add before 2023 to our search. Thank you, John. Really helpful. The next one is even better, I promise. It's how to find non-SEO'd content, which can be really important if you're looking for clients that are still not doing SEO and don't have an SEO consultant, so that would be actually a really nice add-on. You just add before 1990. I wasn't even born then. Was there Google?
See,
No, there was no
see,
Google.
it's before your SEO.
Ah, that's the reason. No, but enough joking. Thank you for the insights. He really gave me a document that these things was in the document. I was just like,
oh my
seriously?
God.
Okay, this will definitely go in this presentation. There was also something going on this year. I mean, it's every year the Google I/O. I think it's every year, no? I never watched it until this year, because this year we had to watch it. We had to see what this Indian guy that has something to do with Google has to say. Because we were waiting if SGE would launch. Will it launch? Will it be the big thing on the Google I/O? And yeah, we were right. It actually was. And it changed name at the same time. We actually found out there was a name in between, AI Answers. Now it's AI Overview. And I think it's really a thing of Google to change names. And I think it's to confuse us. So I don't know, we don't look that much to core updates, so I don't know, because there were a lot of name changes from Google the last year. I don't know if you remember this. Google Places, Google, what was the first one? Local, I can't remember this one. Google My Business, Google Business Profile. And the thing is, in English, it's okay. Google My Business, Google Business Profile, you just change from My to Profile and change the order. But in German, it's horrible, because it was Google My Business, nice, like that. It's now Google Unternehmensprofil.
Okay.
I would prefer you don't translate anything from Google. It's just not sounding good.
Or we just use German names everywhere.
That might be even worse. And really, it's horrible in my day-to-day job, because you talk to someone and you think like, yeah, he's not so good in SEO. Maybe he doesn't know the old name. And you say, yeah, you need to get your Google Unternehmensprofil better. And they're just like, what are you talking about? Yeah, the Google Maps thingy. And they're, oh, you mean Google My Business? And you're just like, come on, why did you know that word? And then you go to the next person and say like, you need to optimize your Google My Business. And they're like, what's that? Yeah, the Google Maps thingy. And then they are like, oh, the Google Unternehmensprofil. They're just like, I will just start saying Google Maps thingy. So please don't change Google Maps name. That would be like really bad, like to Google Karten. There was another name change that we had to go through, Google Data Studio to Looker Studio. And John actually told me in the preparation, nobody cares about this. I did care. I was searching a year Google Data Studio to navigate to Google Looker Studio and never found it. So we care.
So you want a German name?
No.
No, like something really long?
Now I'm used to it. Now let's stay with Looker Studio.
Looker Studio.
And then there was another change. Actually, that was this year, yeah, from Bard to Gemini. But I won't complain about it, because I can't talk the difference between D and T and B and P. So Bard was really hard to write for me. Gemini doesn't have any of that. So I'm grateful for that. So we can keep that.
We make a German one. Okay.
Back to AI overviews. I don't know if you read this in March, that Gartner predicted that by 2026, 25% of our search volume that we really need to convince our clients will be gone because some chatbot or something will do something about it, AI. Let's see what's in 2 years happening, because I think if you think back 2 years, would we have predicted that SGE is called AI Overviews? So we can't say what's happening in 2 years. Maybe we have a German name.
It'll be in German, yeah. Everyone will search in German, because it's like you can use one word to say a whole sentence.
Yeah, and you don't have space on your web design and nothing. It's horrible. No, but what I think it's to predict something like this 2 years from now is like really a long time. A lot happens with all the AI stuff in 9 months or in 1 year. So 2 years is really a long time. But I think we need to remember, and that's something actually you said at the beginning with your long monologue that was way too long, because I was watching the clock and said like, I will never have time for my part. Not everyone thinks in keywords. We grew up with this shit. We started searching on Google, didn't find anything, and learned how to use keywords, how to really search, how to get results. We are doing keyword research all day long. So we are used to the keyword thing, but not everyone is that. And I have a really nice anecdote here. My parents were traveling in Germany this summer by train. And anyone who knows German trains, they are like the British one, they are always late or just cancelled. So you're either stuck in a train or in a station. My parents were stuck in the train, and next to them there was someone sitting from Microsoft, because Microsoft actually sends their Copilot programmers on trains in Germany to influence people. Googlers are not doing that. You should think about that, not about name changing.
We're more efficient.
And he was talking to my parents about the future of AI, about ChatGPT, about Copilot, about how everything is working, which has to be a really nice conversation, because my parents are, like me, Austrian, so they don't speak English. My mother learned English with me and my siblings, and my father from ABBA songs, so I think his part of the conversation was, thank you for the music, Dancing Queen, and Super Trooper, or something like that. But the next day, they were at the breakfast table. And my mother suddenly said to my father, you know what? In the future, you will find something on Google. Because he's literally searching like that. I have a hole in my wall, in German, of course. My useless children did that. How do I fix it? And of course, he doesn't get an answer. So he's like calling me like, can you Google this for me? And I'm just like, okay, fix hole in wall. But yeah, in the future, when AI overview someday comes to Austria as well, he could actually have a conversation with the chatbot of AI overviews and might just get some answers to his way too long questions. Because what he's doing is not searching, it's prompting. We just didn't have a name so far for that. Long story, so let's go back to what things we had to say goodbye this year. First, input delay. I think it was too easy to spam. Or what would you say?
I don't know. I don't think so. Do you think it was too easy to spam?
I'm not sure.
I think people over-focus on Core Web Vitals. So I don't think like spam was an issue there. It's more from a Chrome side. They recognize like there are better metrics. And there will be better metrics for other things too.
Like interaction in next page?
Probably. I mean, I don't understand all of the details of all of the Core Web Vitals. It's very technical, I think. But I think these metrics will evolve over time.
I actually think it's to keep us busy. That we have something to do, because SEO is so boring, and what would we do if we wouldn't change a Core Web Vital to write a new blog post about it, like 4 hours read?
Just be glad that we don't have German names for these.
Yeah.
Interaction to next paint, that seems like the perfect word to use in German.
Yeah, it would for sure be one word like this. Something else that was happening and then not happening, the third-party cookie in Chrome, which should have happened and didn't happen because you changed your name, your idea of it. Also, I think to keep us busy.
Sure, yeah. Like, just keep you busy all the time.
Something else that went away was continuous scroll on Google. I'm actually still not sure if I like it or not, because I really loved, I'm coming from IT, so everything where you don't have to click is amazing. And you can just scroll and see everything. But on the other hand, as we're back to this now, it's way easier to talk to clients, because they won't come like, we are on page 1, and you're just like, because you scrolled half an hour, that's not page 1. And you can say to them like, you know what you can hide on page 2? At that body and your website. So let's do some SEO optimization. And now they actually will know that they are not on page 1. And I need to admit, I didn't find out that continuous scroll went away until I prepared this presentation. And I was just like, why didn't you notice? You should notice that. You should have read it. And then I found out it was happening in June. And I don't know how many of you remember what we did in June. We had other problems. We had really other things to do. And I really think it was a special moment for our community, this huge Google leak, document leak, because it was huge. And there were a lot of data, and it was really huge. And everyone in our community was looking at something else. Someone was looking at video. Someone was looking at internal links. Some were looking at external links. And everyone just picked something to analyze a little bit more. And in the end, we analyzed everything of this huge document leak. And that was really nice how we worked together against Google. But there was another thing coming up with all this, with this leak, and there was a lot of discussion. And it was the big question, if we can still trust this guy. And I have a suggestion for today. Because as he's looking now in the future, and as we said in the, I think we didn't say it, we just put it on the website, that we answer the question if SEO is dead. That's his job to answer. So let's see what he's answering. If we like the answer, we might just trust you again. If we don't like it, obviously, he's just lying to us. And I think that's a great part to give you over the clicker.
Oh my gosh, okay, the pressure. I don't know, it's like if any of you want to retire, maybe you'd be happy if SEO is dead. Who here would be happy if SEO died?
We are still young, that's the problem.
Not you, okay. Well, okay, fine. We'll see what I came up with. So I think in order to look forward, it's also good to, on the one hand, reflect a bit on what the current status is, how things are working now, and also to look backwards a bit.
That's what I just did.
You looked like 1 year back. I looked back at mobile, which was a little bit longer. And it's something where, I don't know, like mobile was a really big topic. This is something where I put together some of the headlines that we had on a blog post from 2021, which was a really long time ago, I think. I don't know.
I was born.
You were born, okay. Did you have a smartphone?
On what, on 20?
Hard, maybe. But back at the time, I remember talking with SEOs and they're like, oh, this mobile stuff is just a fad and it will go away. And my businesses, my clients' websites, like nobody is using mobile to access it. Like maybe that's because it's a Flash website and doesn't even work on mobile.
Oh, the Flash
maybe. But anyway, there was a lot of discussion about like, will mobile even stick around? And nowadays, I imagine most of you probably have a mobile internet device in their pocket or in their hands, playing games, reading Twitter. I don't know. But it's something where I think like it has become so common everywhere that you don't even think about it. And it's like a really big change. And that was like mobile indexing. We just finished that this year together with the indexing team, where basically we only crawl with a mobile device for web, which I think was a pretty big change. And that's been a bit more than 10 years. And with that, I thought I would delve into AI. And what better to use for a photo on AI than an AI-generated image. One of the things I noticed, by the way, while trying to put this together is that the modern image generations, they're pretty good at getting the number of fingers right. So I had to do a lot of work to actually get something that had a lot of fingers and people with different numbers of fingers, which is also fine. But it was kind of interesting. So anyway, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about AI and to understand a little bit, or like discuss a bit, like what is happening here so that you all can make a little bit of a better judgment call about how AI is killing SEO and there's no need to do any SEO. First of all, we have a blog post by Sundar Pichai, who is the boss of Google and Alphabet. So my boss's 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 boss somewhere, who wrote this interesting blog post that includes Google moving from mobile first to AI first. And you know, we just had mobile first indexing finished, and here's this guy saying like, oh, now it's all AI first. So clearly AI is going to replace everything in search. And the interesting thing is, this was back in 2016. So it's not that AI is something new, but rather it's been around for a long time. And Google has done a lot of stuff around AI. It might be interesting to look up the blog post to kind of see what is happening here. But like 2016 is like a really long time. That was
I was born.
Okay, good, good. Okay, so AI has been around for a long time. But that kind of brings me to this slide, where I took an image from Wikipedia about the generations, the people generations out there, and the ages, which I can't read from here, which is kind of awkward. And I wanted to kind of get some guesses from the audience how old AI is. Like, when did it become a topic? Maybe we can start with the first one, which is, what is it? Generation Alpha, early 2010. Do you think AI became a topic early 2010 sometime? Like Sundar said, 2016, AI first. No, okay.
Not born, I think.
Oh, okay, cool. Then we have Generation Z, or I guess Generation Z here. I don't know, like, do you know Z or Z?
I don't know.
Complicated, which is, what is it? 97. Was AI a topic after 97? Like,
Well,
okay.
There are some hands.
Okay, some hands. Cool. I mean, it's like people still had dial-up modems, I imagine, 97. So it's like early computer kind of days. Then we have Generation Y, millennials, 81. If any of you are feeling old, it's like, I don't know. Do you think AI became a topic? Yeah?
said that.
Yeah, 81, okay. Like early computers came up, personal computers, okay. It's like everyone is reluctant to raise their hands. Maybe they're just all asleep. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's on their phone.
Okay, on their phone. Generation X, like clearly AI is a thing from Generation X. 65 onwards, it's, okay, lots of hands. Good, cool, okay. I'm just going to continue down a little bit and then tell you what the actual answer is. Sorry. But Generation X, okay. Baby boomers. Do you think AI is a topic from baby boomer time? Okay.
Yes, hands?
Some hands. Well, I don't know if they had computers back then. Did they? I mean, I wasn't there, so like, I might be biased. I don't know. Yeah, that feels kind of like a weird thing to say. It's okay. Some for baby boomers. Then we have a silent generation. It's like clearly AI is not silent generation because it just keeps talking, right? Some hands. Okay. I could continue. Let's see. Greatest generation. Greatest generation feels like something that people would put on their LinkedIn, which. I don't know. Okay, I'll stop here. So I think what's interesting when I looked up the history is that AI actually became a topic in science in 1956. So it's something that is really old, and just that combination with large language models is kind of the new aspect here. And we've been using AI for a really long time at Google. And I think with that, I have to say, like, I like this combination of search and large language models, which is kind of like what AI overviews is. And I had a bunch of questions about that, like today and yesterday, like, will AI overviews take over everything and I don't have to do anything? And I think what's important is to roughly understand how these AI overviews work. Obviously, I can't give you all of the internal secrets. But instead, I found some Google Cloud public documentation on something that is very similar. And it's basically a system called retrieval augmented generation. That sounds really, really complicated. And because it's generation, I think you should call it RAG instead of RAG. It's kind of the new GIF and GIF. It's like just very important for you to understand that these are the same thing. But basically, what it means is that it takes a mix of something that a large language model generates and the search results. And I don't know, do any of you know how the search results work? Like, are there some SEOs here who know about search? Yeah. Like, nobody wants to admit it anymore after those quotes. I can understand. So basically, and again, this is from Google Cloud. This is public documentation. This is not necessarily everything that AI Overviews does, but it is, I think, a very important understanding of how it works. And basically, what happens is someone enters a query, and that query is kind of fed into this line of small things on the bottom, where it tries to understand what the query actually is, to simplify it a bit, and then it's fed into a search system. And the search system generates a bunch of results, like search results that you know, and then those search results are put into a large language model, essentially. So essentially what it's doing is it's doing a search, then copying, pasting the search results and putting them into Bard, for example, and saying, based on these search results, what would you say to this question that I have?
Bard won't say a lot. It's not existing anymore. It's Gemini.
Oh, Gemini. Oh my gosh. Important part. Yeah. So basically, it's something where the foundation of AI Overviews is essentially something that you all already understand. So it's not that there's some magical black box out there that is just making things up. I mean, obviously AIs like to make things up, but it is taking the foundation of the search results as a form of grounding, so technically it's called grounding, to generate some content. And it also understands which pages are there, so it's easier to reference them. So in short, like everything around AI Overviews in particular is not something that you all, as SEOs, should necessarily be afraid of, because it's basically taking the existing things and just taking them one step further. So again, this is like all built on search. All right. Oh my gosh. This is not my slide.
No, that's my slide. Because I heard him talking in the preparation, and I was just like, maybe we should put an example up there to explain what this complicated thing actually means. And of course, I was looking for the secret formula for SEO, which I don't give you because that's my competitive advantage here. But what all this about is these AI tools take from LinkedIn, from Backlink, from a lot of sites the information, looked it up. All these sites are for sure ranking really prominently, and it's not going to scroll until page 50. And just takes everything of that to build an answer. And that's something that's really important for us SEOs, because all this comes also if it's your brand, your website that you're optimizing, your content, your topic. We should stop thinking in links. And I know there are a lot of link builders down here. I saw a few of them. But it's not the links. It's the branding we make with the links. So really the content that we put on other sites, that all these AI and all these AI overviews or ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever they are called will take into account when talking about you, about your brand, about your topic. And on more websites that you really show your expertise, the more information they get from you and your site and your business. So that's really something we need to have in mind for the future with all this AI overview. And I think that's what REC is about for SEO.
REC.
Yeah, REC.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I want to rename it.
Okay, so I have a few more things where SEO kind of comes into play. On the one hand, there's crawling, which I think is very important. And I think it's also important to realize that crawling plays a big role with all of these AI systems as well. They go off and crawl the web in their own way. And I imagine a lot of you here are technical SEOs, and crawling is something that you care about and that you understand and that you can guide. And if you see Googlebot crawling some weird part of a website, you can kind of recognize that when it's really obvious, and you can do something against it. So one of the things to keep in mind is that all of these new AI systems, they're also going out and crawling the web for information. And if you want to appear in these AI systems, not just in Google, then that's something that you should also keep in mind. And the main thing that what I would like to say here for the SEO is that a lot of these new systems are not so experienced with crawling the web. The web is really messy, it's really large, there are lots of links that lead into weird places, and if you've used Screaming Frog on a website that's never been used before, then you'll often see that it's crawling in circles, doing really weird things.
Or crashing the site.
Or crashing, and a lot of the newer systems out there, they're also crawling the wild web for the first time. And that's something where you, as technical SEOs, can do things to optimize that. And these are things that you would do for Google as well, making sure that they're clean URLs, clear redirects in place, 404 pages, all of those things. So kind of looking forward, if you think that there's a world of AI systems out there that will also lead people to your content, then maybe you should care about how they crawl your content. When it comes to crawling, there's also a matter of whether or not you want to be in these systems. And that's something where everyone has personal opinions. I think in the beginning it's unclear what the advantage actually is of being in so many different AI systems. There are lots of people who say, well, I'll just wait and see. But there are also many controls out there for these AI crawlers in particular. And these are also built on all of the mechanisms, for the most part, built on the mechanisms that you already know. So things like robots.txt, meta tags, maybe HTTP headers for some systems. But these are all things that you have experience with and that you have opinions on, where you can go to your clients and say, well, this is what you should be doing, or this is why it depends. And it depends, I think, is a really important part, because that starts off a discussion on, well, what does it depend on? And that's kind of where your experience comes into play, where your knowledge, the things that you've seen over time come into play, where you can say, well, these are the metrics I care about for SEO, and this is what I would look for in a new system that might want to crawl or look at my content. And you can work together with the client to determine whether it makes sense. And you're also in the unique situation that you have a lot of experience working with robots.txt file, with meta tags, you know how all of these things work. So even in a world where everything is replaced just by AI, it's there's still a lot of room, I think, especially for technical SEOs to kind of fit in.
And should we all be technical SEOs?
Yes, everyone should be technical SEO. No, of course not. There's lots of room for others as well. And it also kind of plays in how things are positioned on the page, the HTML, all of that matters as well. And all of these are things that you all have experience with, where it's you know how to make pages that are easily read by bots, and all of that works for modern AI systems as well. The other thing that I've noticed is the modern web is very complex, and it's more than just AI crawlers that are out there, but all of these things around paywalls, internationalization, privacy interstitials, banners, all of the cookie stuff comes into play, especially if you're in Europe. And all of these things are challenges that you've worked out, how they work well for search engines, so you understand them. And you can take that knowledge and apply it to AI systems as well, where it's if you can make your website work well on Google, despite all of this complication that the legal teams are adding, then probably you can make them work on AI systems as well. All right, so with just a handful of minutes left, I'll have to talk a little bit faster. Some outlooks of some things that I think are likely to happen. Maybe not just this year, but in the coming months or quarters or whatever is left. On the one hand, we have structured data, our good friend. My understanding is with structured data, it's very easy to add more information to pages that is machine readable. I have no idea how AI systems use structured data, but it's at least for Google search, it's very helpful for all of the rich features in search. So I'm sure there'll be more structured data types that come, and with that, also some structured data types that go away. Last year we talked about FAQ and how-to rich results, which were really popular. I'm sure we will deprecate some other structured data fields over time. I think the important takeaway on this is not so much that it's like, oh, Google is always changing things, which of course we are.
Like names.
But that you have the setups on the websites that you work with that make it easy to deal with structured data. Like if things come and you're like, oh, well, for my website or for this particular client's website, this new type of structured data would be good, that you don't have to go to engineers and say, well, please remake my whole website so I can add this structured data, but rather that's really easy for you to do that. And luckily, a lot of modern CMSs like Wix, WordPress, they can do this very quickly. So that's something where the easier you make it to add and remove or change structured data, the easier the future will be for you. Search Console, we talked about recommendations briefly. I think it's rolled out to maybe a quarter of the websites now, and we plan to increase this over time. We also only show them for sites where we think there are actual recommendations that we can get. We plan to introduce new types of recommendations over time. Some of them we will get wrong, and feedback from you all is very helpful. The other important part here with these recommendations in Search Console is that there are things that are primarily focused for the average web person working on a website, and not something where it's like giving you secret advice as SEOs, because you're obviously experts and a lot of this stuff you already know. So if we say, oh, it's like there's an issue on this website, you could change this, and you're like, I'm doing that on purpose, Google. But anyways, like getting feedback on all of these things, I think is still really helpful. So if you find things that we're missing in recommendations or things we're getting obviously wrong, let me know. I'll talk to the team. I can't promise it's fixed immediately, but we'll see. Merchant Center, shopping, we've done tons of stuff around e-commerce and shopping in search over the past year. I expect that to continue, because there's like the big thing where the team is working on is to make sure that the product feed that you can submit to Merchant Center is kind of equivalent with structured data types. So probably we'll add more structured data for products specifically. Then I have Google Trends, which is kind of new as a topic for my team, but which I think maps really well also to the whole ecosystem, because there's lots of information in Google Trends which could be useful for people who are making sites. Okay, now we're coming to the end, which is why we have this really awkward interstitial site here.
We're not the most creative people up here, so...
I only used AI for one slide, like just as a disclaimer. Okay, so a few things that I just want to reiterate. I mentioned most of this. I think the future of web is still built on crawling. So everything technical SEO related that you're doing around crawling, clean URLs, redirects, 404 pages that are 404, all of that is very important and will continue to be. So even if everything is taken over by AI and we're otherwise out of a job, I think from a technical SEO point of view, all of that is still very important. My opinion is the future of web is still built on search, which might be kind of skewed because I'm from Google. I don't know. But I think especially those systems that combine search as a way to ground something that an LLM or an AI system is generating are immensely useful, and they give a lot more context than just pure AI systems that are making things up. My recommendation is to also make decisions around all of these things. That's why you have all of these different controls for AI systems or for Google search, where you can say, well, I'm just not going to wait forever and see what happens, but rather I'm going to actively make a conscious decision with this. I'm going to say, I want this or I don't want this. And my recommendation is also to rethink that decision from time to time, because maybe in the beginning you're saying like, I hate all AI, which is understandable, but maybe afterwards you realize, well, actually I use a lot of AI myself, so maybe I should allow some of that. And lastly, I really like working together with all of you. And my hope is that we can continue to work together to make the web weird and wonderful and kind of valuable to the internet overall.
So you say we're not without a job?
I don't know. Is that a good thing? Oh, for you, of course, it's a good thing. It's like you don't want to retire yet.
No, I'm still too young to retire.
Okay, so what do you think? Is SEO dead?
I don't think. I don't really think that SEO is dead. I know I have something a little bit more inspirational from my part now, because it was just a little bit joking around before. I think with all the discussion like SEO is dead, we had that a few times in the last years. And we all know that. We heard it with a lot of technologies. And the thing is, as long as there is someone searching out there, as long as there are businesses that don't know how to communicate their offering to anyone, as long as there are websites out there, and even if these websites, I don't know, in the future are on a metaverse or something, for sure they need to optimize their office in metaverse as well. It's kinda a website. As long as all of this is out there, we will have a job. Maybe people won't search on Google, so John won't have a job. But we are still needed to optimize that, to get things out there and be searchable or findable. And also with all the AI discussion and will some people have a job tomorrow, will there be still copywriters tomorrow and everything we have there, we are on the front row of all of this that's happening. Even if it feels like you're looking left, you're looking right, and like, oh, they all know more than we know, than I know, so maybe I'm really getting back there and then I have no idea. We are like the 1% of people that are really shaping the future now, looking at what is happening, how AI is working, how ChatGPT and everything, what we can do, how we can use it. We are there in the front row. Maybe we're not the top 1%, but the top 10% or something. There are a lot of people who don't even open ChatGPT. So we are really at the front row. So it can happen what happens. We are there, we will shape the future, and we will be the people that know how the future is going to go out before everyone else actually knows about it. And I think that's enough for this conference.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.